Okay, so there's this huge thing happening right now in cities like New York. All these empty office buildings are being turned into something we all desperately need, homes. But here's the catch. What happens when the ghost of the office just refuses to leave? Let's get into it.
Just picture it for a second. You move into a slick new apartment, but every time you walk down the hall, it feels like you're late for a meeting. It's this weird psychological hurdle that's at the very heart of one of the biggest trends in real estate right now.
So, New York City is dealing with what you'd call a perfect storm. You've got office vacancy rates going through the roof, and at the same time, the housing shortage is just getting worse and worse. So what's the big idea? A massive push to convert all these empty office towers into apartments. It's a really practical solution to two giant problems that are crashing into each other.
And, on paper, it sounds so simple, right? Just change the zoning, move some walls around, and boom, you've got apartments. But the real challenge, the really tricky part, isn't about the bricks and mortar. It's psychological. A building that's been an office for 50 years doesn't just magically start feeling like a home overnight.
And that brings us to this concept we can call the office leftover aesthetic. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that lingering institutional feeling in the hallways and the lobby, the one that kind of whispers corporate when it should be shouting, "Welcome home."
I mean, the disconnect here is huge. We expect a home to feel warm, to feel personal and inviting. But so many of these conversions end up feeling, well, sterile, corporate, and anonymous. And it's that emotional gap that can completely tank a building's appeal before a potential resident even lays eyes on an actual apartment.
And these office ghosts, they're not some vague idea. Oh no, they're very specific things. Think about those long, bland, commercial-grade hallways. Lobbies made with cold corporate materials. Elevator landings that look like they haven't been touched since the 80s. Even that harsh fluorescent lighting in the gym. Every single one is a little poke, a reminder that this place was built for work, not for living.
And here's the absolute crucial point. This isn't just an interior design problem. No way. This is a straight-up business problem. That first impression happens the second someone walks in the door. If the lobby and the hallways feel cold, the building's desirability just plummets.
So the big question is, how do you fix it? How do you give an old office building a brand new soul? Well, this is where it gets really cool. This is where adaptive design comes in, using things like environmental graphics and super high-resolution wall printing to totally change a building's identity from the inside out.
The whole process really breaks down into 4 key steps. First, you've got to create warmth and a real emotional connection. Second, you build a unique sense of place, maybe tying it into the vibe of the neighborhood. Third, you modernize everything without all the cost and mess of demolition. And finally, you make the building stand out from all the competition.
Now, the smart way to do this is to be super strategic. You focus on the areas with the highest impact, the spaces that every single resident walks through every single day. We're talking the lobby, the elevators, and especially those long, boring corridors. You transform those zones and bam, you get the biggest and fastest shift in how the entire building feels.
And here's the thing. The best solution here isn't just about looking good. It's also about being practical. A visual upgrade using modern printing tech is just smarter, faster, and believe it or not, way greener.
Get this. A massive floor-to-ceiling custom mural can be installed in just 2 to 3 hours. Seriously. Now compare that to the weeks of dust, noise, and disruption from a traditional renovation. The speed alone is a total game changer.
And when you put them side by side, the comparison is it's night and day. Traditional renovation, you're talking about demolition, tons of waste, and messy adhesives for wallpaper. With direct-to-wall printing, you get zero demolition, zero waste, and no glues. And the best part? When it's time for a change, you literally just paint right over it. It's cleaner and more efficient in just about every way.
That efficiency has huge financial implications too. With zero waste and no harmful VOCs, this method lines up perfectly with those big ESG goals. That's environmental, social, and governance that are a major deal in development financing now. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the financially savvy thing to do.
So, at the end of the day, this all comes back to one core idea. Adaptive reuse, changing a building's function, that's only half the battle. To really truly succeed, it needs adaptive design. The building's story has to change right along with its purpose.
So what's the big takeaway here? For developers, this approach makes first impressions amazing and helps lease up the building way faster. It increases the property's value, it supports those crucial ESG goals, and most importantly, it creates that genuine feeling of home that tenants are actually looking for.
It all really boils down to this simple but really powerful idea. When you transform a space for work into a space for living, the walls themselves have to tell that new story.
And that leaves us with a fascinating question, one that's not just about a single building, but about the future of all our cities. As we repurpose the very fabric of our urban centers, how do we make sure we're not just changing floor plans, but that we're truly changing the stories these buildings tell?